There is a tradition that when the sea split for the Jewish people when they were leaving Egypt, it really didn't want to, even though God had told the sea upon its creation that it would one day have to go against its nature and split to save the Jewish people from the onslaught of the Egyptians. And so the sea sort of knew from the get-go that there would come a time where this magnificent and miraculous occurrence would happen, and it was ready for it. When the Jews had their backs against the Egyptians and facing the sea was looking at the Jews and was questioning God. Where is this Jewish nation that you told me to split for? I don't see them. Why would the sea say this? Because we are told that while they did keep many Jewish customs, their language and their names, actually in practice they had become idol worshippers themselves. So in some respect, they looked exactly like the Egyptians. And so when the sea was questioning God and said, has the time come for me to split? I don't see the Jewish nation. Until something very interesting occurred. It says that the ark containing the remains of Yosef, the viceroy of Egypt, came. As we know that Joseph made the Jewish people promise that when they eventually leave Egypt, they would take his remains with them to be buried in Israel, where he's buried till today in Shechem. And when the sea saw the remains of Joseph, it actually split. The question is why? What was it about Joseph's ark, Joseph's coffin, that somehow made the sea realize that it's making a big mistake on how it identifies a Jew? And the answer is that Joseph told the sea, look at me. Do I look Jewish? I look like an Egyptian king. Look at my dress. Look at my language. No one would expect a Jew to be in such a position. And yet, what am I? I'm a savior of Jewish people. I taught my children to continue and to preserve the legacy of my father and my grandfather and my grandmother and my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother. In fact, till today, we bless our children every Friday night to be like the children of Joseph, that independent of the environment that we may be brought up in, whether it's Egypt, whether it's the furthest thing from a Jewish little shtetl and city, we can raise Jewish children. And so Joseph said, don't look at the exterior of a Jew. Stop paying attention of how we're dressed and how we look. Start looking inside. And you know how you tell a Jew? That when it comes to the true test, does that Jew stand up for Jews? Does that Jew stand up for Israel? Does that Jew really deep down in his heart believe in the one true God? Does that Jew understand the importance of the continued existence of the Jewish people? And maybe they don't have all the solutions to those problems really lined up as God has told us how to interact with that, with Torah and mitzvot, but nonetheless, they're Jewish. Because when really we're put to the test, the most important things in life count. And that is the continuity of the Jewish people, a connectedness to God, and that ultimately, deep down, we all know the truth. We just find it difficult to behave accordingly. And so when the sea finally saw Joseph, and Joseph said, don't look at the exterior, don't look what I look like, I'm an Egyptian king, but rather look deep down inside. And inside of every single Jew, you'll find a proud soul who really, under the right conditions, will always defend the Jewish people, always defend the one God, and always defend the need or the continuity and legacy of the Jewish nation. Have a great Shabbos.